All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to this awesome Mitch and Maeli live call. Thank you for being here like the week before Thanksgiving. I think a lot of people kind of get busy on the holidays, and it's hard to make these kind of things. But I know when you make sacrifices for your business, it always pays off. So I applaud all of you who are here. We still got people kind of joining, so we'll get this show on the road now. Just a few announcements really quick. We had an amazing regionals last week. That's why we didn't have a call last week. So thank you to everybody who attended and was part of that. I'm glad you all found your way back here this week. So we're gonna dive in. We've got some awesome stuff. So we've got some guest speakers, and I don't want to take very much of their time. So I'm gonna keep the announcements short. We do have our in-person training in Murray, Utah tomorrow at 7 p.m. At Maeli's Brokerage, Top Equity Realty. That's at 7 p.m. We're doing a live mastermind. You guys are all welcome to be there. We'd love to have you there if you can make it. Now, with that said, let's get on to our guest speakers. So we have with us some awesome people. Now, I know we talk a lot about banking strategies and how to strategize so that we're not giving the bank more interest than we need to, right? And we want to pay off our debt at an accelerated rate. We use velocity banking as a way to do that. Well, these guys that we have on tonight, they've got an incredible product that they use to be able to facilitate that velocity banking process. And so we brought them on to talk about that and educate around the ins and outs of that product versus a traditional mortgage. And so they've got some incredible experience in the mortgage industry. They've been doing it for decades. So I couldn't think of anybody more qualified to come on and talk to our group than these two individuals. And I want to bring them out right now. So I want to bring out Craig Steele and Stacy Glenn. And I think Craig's going to start out sharing a little bit of information with us, and then Stacy's going to jump in. But I don't want to steal any more of your thunder. I'll let you tell your story and break into your content, Craig. Welcome to the call. Thanks
I
for being here.
appreciate it. Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate it a lot.
Absolutely.
Mitch and I were talking here, and we're talking about velocity banking. It's something that I believe in, and the product that I'm going to talk about, I think well, I've been doing this for 30 years. It's the only product that I've been this excited about in 30 years. And granted, I've done a lot of loans, I've done a lot of things, but this one really excites me. And the reason being is because it's just really opposite of what a regular 30-year fixed rate mortgage is. So, Mitch, I am going to share a screen. Is that all right?
Yep, I think that I already made you a co-host, so you should be good to go. Yeah, you're good to go.
Okay, share screen right there. Okay. So this PowerPoint here, I'm obviously not going to try to read the screen here, but it is actually velocity banking in a nutshell. This product is called the all-in-one loan. It is a first lien HELOC. The reason it is all-in-one is because all of your banking needs, your wires, your debt pay, your debit, your checking, your mortgage, they're all included in one loan itself on a 360-month first lien HELOC. First, I'm going to give a little background with this. I call it the smart loan, and truly it is a smart loan because it does, it helps manage your principal, your balance, thereby mitigating the interest you're paying over time. 30-year fixed rate mortgage, it's a set amount of interest that you're paying over those 30 years. On a smart loan, if you front load principal payments, you effectively minimize the amount of interest you pay on a mortgage. And we'll get into an example here shortly with that. With a smart loan or a first lien HELOC or velocity banking, the average homeowner will be able to pay off their home in about 10.5 years. Most of the people that I deal with, they actually paid off a lot sooner than that. We're talking 5.5, 6, 7 years based on the amount of income that they're generating either on rental properties or their own primary residence. This obviously saves huge amounts of interest by just smartly applying, principal to your loan instead of dragging it out over 30 years. This is a first lien HELOC. HELOC is obviously a credit line that's established at consummation, whether that's a purchase or whether that's a refinance. And let me just go through those real quick. On a purchase, you can do a 90% loan to value up to a $3 million loan amount on this product. On a refinance, they only allow you to go up to an 80% loan to value, but they do allow you to do this as a primary residence, a second home, or an investment property. And you can have 2 of these loans out at any given time. They won't allow more than 2, probably because the system doesn't really work as well if you have multiple loans trying to put principal on each one.
Sheesh.
I know, right? On this first lien HELOC, payments are due on the 21st of the month, and it is based on a daily average balance that you have on your mortgage itself. So let's just give an example here. Let's say I have a $400,000 loan, and let's say I make $25,000 a month. $25,000 a month, when I get paid, is going to go directly against my principal balance of my mortgage into my first lien HELOC. Therefore, month 2, I'm at $375 on my balance. Month 2, I'm at $350 on my balance. Month 3, I'm at $325, so on and so forth. We get the math on that. What I will tell you, though, is this loan is not designed to make you go poor or, live such a frugal life that you're eating ketchup and rice. It's designed to actually continue the lifestyle that you want, but instead of letting money just sit on the sideline, it's working for you against the principal balance. Now, when I said this, payments are due on the 21st, interest is calculated on a daily balance. Let's say throughout the month, there's multiple times that you get paid, whether multiple streams or husband and wife work or whatever the case is. But every week there's a chunk that goes down on the principal balance, therefore lowering the amount that's actually being charged in interest on a monthly basis. So on the 21st of the month, they will do what's called a sweep. It is a sweep account, checking account. They sweep the interest that is accrued on a daily balance for those 30 days. So this month would be accrued on the 21st of next month, for example. But they sweep that amount of interest that comes out of the account. Now, does it actually come out of the account? No, your line of credit is established. It basically just adds that amount to what's owed on your balance. This loan's great because you never actually physically write a check and send it anywhere. You don't do a debit card, no nothing. It automatically will come out on the 21st of the month. If that's a weekend, it will be the following day on a Monday. Let's see here. The account is a bank account, much like your current checking. I mean, we all have checking. We all have debit cards. We all have, credit cards. We have our, bill pay, our bank services, our online access, our wires, ATM access to this line of credit worldwide. We'll skip that second sentence because I already said that. This loan will actually be set up about 45 days after you close on the loan. And the reason being is because the loan company that closes the loan then actually sells it to a physical bank that does give the credit card, the debit card access, and sets it up just like a regular, almost like a credit card account where you're getting monthly statements and you can actually see that information. So within 45 days, you will have access to the account itself. One thing to note with this is they do not fund 100% of the loan up front. They only fund 99%, leaving 1% of the line of credit in the account during this 45 days in case there's some kind of a payment that's due or something like that. There is money that actually makes the payment, which obviously makes sense, and that's a good thing. All right, here's where the magic happens, guys. Any HELOC will actually do this, but I specifically like the way that this company has set up their first lien HELOC. It is a 360-month HELOC. It is interest only the entire time. It is not, 10 years interest only, and then all of a sudden the next 20 years you're paying nothing but principal and lose all your privileges. It is a 360-month first lien HELOC where you have access to that money, your equity, throughout time and eternity. At least 30 years. Here's how the magic works. Depending on your income sources, whether it's a sales commission on real estate, whether it's a W-2 employee, whether it's royalties, wherever your money's coming from, put it against the principal balance of this first lien HELOC and watch the magic happen. Your monthly payment will drop the principal dramatically instead of sitting in a minimal interest-bearing checking or savings account. And by show of hands, who here has a 10% interest on their interest-bearing account with checking or savings? Nobody. The best I've heard out there is around 4.5, and maybe there are some accounts out there, money markets or something like that might be a little bit higher. But typically what we've seen in the last 10 years at least, I'm seeing 0.25% interest that I'm earning on my money sitting in a bank doing absolutely nothing for me. So the whole concept here is don't let your money just sit, have your money working for you at all time, which I believe is that velocity banking philosophy that Mitch was talking about. Have your money working for you at all time, reducing that principal and mitigating and shortening that amount of interest that you're paying on your loans at any given time. Now, you can pay extra whenever you want. So, for example, if a salesperson gets a quarterly bonus, they have a salary and they get a quarterly bonus, or they get an annual bonus, or, who knows? Whatever money you get, I guess is the point I'm trying to make, goes against your principal balance, and that's how it should be used. This loan is great for self-employed borrowers, salespeople, commission workers. Whatever you deposit goes against your mortgage, creating leverage and equity in the account on a daily, monthly basis. And you do have access to the line of credit to the end of the 360 months. Now, one caveat with that, I will say this, and I'll show that a little bit later here on the online simulator that I'm going to run through with you guys. Month 1 through 120, the line of credit does not change whatsoever. The first month of the 11th year through month 360, the line of credit will diminish 1/240th, or in other words, 20 years, 1 month for every month in the next 20 years, it will diminish 1/240th of that line of credit until the 360th month, which is at 0. And there's some strategies that we can talk about with that, how not to have that happen, or how not to, have your line of credit continue to go down. Personally, in 5 years, if the house is worth another, 30-40%, I would probably refinance it, not my line of credit, so that it's still way up there and give me even more leverage than I do have today. All right, let's see here. Now let's dog on 30-year fixed rate mortgages for just a little bit. 30-year fixed rate mortgages are great mortgages. It's how I've made my living in the last 30 years. But it is an old, antiquated mortgage. The 30-year fixed rate mortgage came out during the Great Recession, the Great Depression, my apologies, the Great Depression, and it was a way where people could actually have a minimum payment and be able to afford a house. Prior to that, we really didn't have 30-year fixed rate mortgages. There was a 10-year, there was a 15-year. The bankers got together and decided over 6 months whether or not they were going to levy any money or not at a 50% loan to value. It was a little bit crazy. So back in the day, when they put all the mortgage-backed security systems together and everything, they did come out with a 30-year fixed rate mortgage and put it in mortgage coupons, Fannie, Freddie. We all know the story about Fannie, Freddie, and Ginnie. Those are mortgage-backed coupons that go into the 401ks, money market accounts, school, IRAs or anything like that. They're an actual security that's backed by mortgage-backed securities, correct? The 30-year fixed rate mortgage is a loan that our parents taught us was good and a good, stable way of buying a home. And look, I'm not going to knock it. Like I said, it's a great loan, and it has been the way I've made a lot of money over the last, 30 years. But the 30-year fixed rate mortgage, guys, is better for the bank. It is not good for the consumer. And here's why. When you do a mortgage on 30 years, you are paying at least 1.5% at a 3% interest rate, 1.5 times the balance of your mortgage over 30 years, up to 2.5 times your balance. 3% rate is 152% of your balance, 152% of your value. A 4% is 174% of the value of your house. 5%, you're hitting 200%, paying twice what the home's worth, on and on. At an 8% rate, you're paying 265% of the value of a house by financing it over 30 years. There's such a better way, And the first lien HELOC is that way. Let's see, you're interested on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Most of the interest you earn on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage is earned up front. In the first third to 1/2, depending on interest rate, you're going to pay more interest than you will principal. And only in the latter stages of a 30-year fixed rate mortgage do you end up gaining traction or knocking that principal down. And that's typically between year 12 and 15 that starts to happen, depending on the interest rate. Current interest rates as of right now, you're not hitting that till 15, 16 years before you get that tipping point where you're paying more principal than interest on a monthly basis. And obviously amortization schedules will show that. The average American will refinance or buy a new home every 4 to 7 years. Think about that. If the average American is buying or refinancing home every 4 to 7 years, they never get to that tipping point where the interest is actually less than the principal because they refinance every 4 to 7 years. Therefore, resetting the interest they're paying, and it doesn't matter what the rate is, they reset the interest that they're paying, and most of that is earned up front. Okay? So when you're always resetting the interest, yeah, it doesn't really get you ahead. It kind of lulls you to sleep into thinking you have some false sense of security with this type of a product. Now, once again, I don't want to talk too bad about a 30-year fixed rate mortgage because it's a very popular product and we all have one and we all use it. But there is a better way. 30-year fixed rate mortgage is designed to actually keep you a prisoner, financial bondage. It's not designed to actually get your house paid off. It's very good for a bank. It's not very good for a consumer. Okay, let's talk about cost of a mortgage. What does it cost to get a mortgage from a loan or a bank or a loan officer? Typically, closing costs are going to be, well, they used to be, 2.5%. That includes your title, your appraisal, your down payment, so on and so forth. Right now, in today's environment, where there's not a lot of spread between the margin on a mortgage and actually what the services are actually paying lenders to do, all of us are buying up or paying for mortgage discount points up front. That always hasn't been the case. That's only been the case in the last year and a half. Let's see here. So if you were to refinance a home every 4 to 7 years and you're getting charged 2.5% every single time, 7 times 2.5%, I mean, you're paying an extra 15 to 20% of the mortgage based on refinancing so many times just to get a better deal. You don't need to get a better deal when you have the first lien HELOC because it does drop the interest like crazy. And I will show you that in the simulator, I promise. These first lien HELOC accounts, they do not have an escrow. They do not escrow for taxes. They do not escrow for homeowners insurance. And the reason why is because you have a line of credit. You have a checkbook access. Your balance is dropping so dramatically, you can once a year when property taxes are due, which here in Utah are obviously in November, just write a check or take that debit card and actually pay your taxes. Same thing with your homeowner's insurance once a year. Why borrow more money to the bank for them to take your escrow and lend it out to other people and make money on you when you can do it yourself and actually mitigate the interest that you're paying? Once again, that velocity banking, taking all the strategies necessary to be smart about how we're giving the bank any money or any interest rather than just falling asleep and letting them take all our money for 30 years. Okay, why the all-in-one is better? While a 30-year fixed rate mortgage is a fantastic loan program for some, it doesn't make sense for everybody. I'll tell you one thing. This loan is not for everybody, and it is not for the borrower that's living paycheck to paycheck. It's not for your FHA borrower who is at a 56.9% back-end debt ratio just to qualify. This is not the program for them at all. This program has the ultimate in flexibility. There's no additional loan cost after you do it the first time because you don't need to call Stacy or me and refinance a loan. It already has the equity in there for you to capture. Well, you might say, well, why are you pushing this loan program then, Craig? You're working yourself out of a job. Not really. I think there is enough good, savvy people out there that want to do multiple things with this line of credit that will always have the business. But I want the smartest, the best products available for any clients that I deal with because I want to be able to see them at the grocery store and say, you know what, how's that loan program working for you? Man, it's awesome. I just actually went out and bought 2 more houses and I leveraged my line of credit to do so. Thank you so much for getting me into this program. Okay, you're going to leverage your equity. This is the exact way to do it. It creates wealth. It keeps money in your pocket instead of the bank. Minimizes your overall loan cost and your total payments, and then allows you to manage your money and have it work for you. Just some examples of things that you could do with the line of credit, of course, is investment, flips, college, boat, whatever the case may be. Buy a piece of land, develop the land, put 10 houses on it. There's multiple things you can do with the equity if you leverage it correctly. And remember, we're trying to talk about getting this thing paid off as soon as possible and minimizing the interest that you pay. But now you're also your own bank where you can take the money that you have put into your line of credit and use that money instead of it just evaporate in interest over the next 30 years. All right, I do have some questions here, and then I'm going to jump into the simulator. Some of the questions I have here are, why can't I just pay weekly on my current mortgage? Well, you can. On a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, there's no reason you can't pay extra payments. And I believe one extra principal payment on an annual basis will reduce your payoff or your number of years to about 25.8 years. Most people don't do that because it's a false sense of security. My payment's only $2,500 a month and I'm going to go spend it all on something else. Or I like seeing $50,000 in the bank just sitting there earning no money. Another thing also, You can pay on your mortgage that way, but what if all of a sudden you didn't plan for this, or there's something that pops up and you need money? Let's say little Johnny decided he's going to college, and he said the whole time he wasn't going to go to college, and now all of a sudden, Mom, I want to go to college. It's $16,000 in tuition. Can you just pay for that? Also, my books, by the way, are another $2,000. Can you pay for that? Well, at that point, you call Stacy or Craig and say, hey, I either need a line of credit or we need to refinance my mortgage and pull out $20,000 because my kid needs to go to college. No matter of fact, it's going to be 4 years, so I'm going to actually pull out $80,000 and send him to college or her to college. Can I get some of that money back that I've been paying you for years? Well, absolutely. We would love for that to happen. We're going to charge you 2.5% upfront closing costs. Your interest rate's not going to be at 2 3/4 or 3 1/4 that it used to be a couple of years ago. We're going to charge you 6.5 to 7% right now, and that's a great deal for you, right, borrower? No, absolutely not. And if you have this first lien HELOC, you just write the check. Oops, sorry. Do I have to make a payment? That's the beauty of this thing. It's very recession proof. You do not ever have to physically make a payment. As long as the line of credit is established once a month on the 21st of the month, based on your daily average balance, it will sweep the account for the interest that's accrued on it and actually add that to your balance of your loan. Okay, so there's never a payment that you're actually physically making. You're not calling on the 15th. It's 5 o'clock. They're going to close. No, it automatically does it for you. Taxes and homeowners insurance, where I talked about, we don't escrow for those. Another question here, can I pay all my bills through this? I would highly recommend it. Absolutely highly recommend paying all the bills that you have through this line of credit. And the reason being is because you can deduct the interest that you do have on your primary residence up to $750,000, the interest up to $750,000 mortgage off of your taxes on an annual basis. Sorry for the people that have a $1.5 million house. You still can only deduct $750,000 of that $1.5 million mortgage and the interest on that, unless unless Congress decides to change things with that. Do I have to cancel my credit cards? Absolutely not. I would recommend you cancel most of them, but those ones that you have, your Discover, your Amex, some of them that you're getting points on, you're getting Sky Miles. What is the grace period on your Amex card? What is the grace period on your Discover card? Is it 20 days? Is it 30 days? Use Velocity Banking the right way. Not maximize, but use those credit cards and make sure you're within your 20-day period, free grace period, and then go to your line of credit here and actually pay that off on a monthly basis and make sure. But don't cancel the card. You're getting 2% back. You're also getting Sky Miles. Maximize the earnings, maximize the things that you are getting with that. I think it's a great idea. Now, some of the other stuff that you don't really need, I mean, this line of credit will be your gas. This will be your groceries. This will be everything that you need. So there's not really a need for a bunch of other ones. Okay. When the loan is closed, is the loan closed when it hits the zero balance? Because this loan does pay off a lot quicker than a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. It does not pay off. It does not close. So an Amex Platinum card or Black card or whatever it's called, I think is a $595 fee on an annual basis to have that line of credit, to have that credit card. This home equity line of credit here, this first lien HELOC, once your balance is at a zero balance, they will charge you a $60 fee once a year to keep the account open, which I would highly recommend. That's a well spent $60. And then, of course, can I keep my current checking or banking account? You can. There's no reason to, but you can keep that other checking and banking account. But this is an all-encompassing, all-in-one, hence the name of the loan, all-in-one first lien HELOC. It's an all-encompassing account that you really don't need all those other accounts. Some people are really, really happy with their credit union or really, really happy with their bank, and they like paying those monthly fees for their statements. Great. If they want to keep that account, there's no reason why they have to shut it. But if they want to use the program how it's designed, I would absolutely advocate that they just use this program here. Okay, let me jump into the simulator here real quick.
Craig, I absolutely love what you're going through here, and it plays right into what we've always talked about with velocity banking, where we want to, I think part of what keeps us broke is that standard banking idea of, we have our income and that goes into checking, and then we have all of our different payments that we're slicing the pie for. This really gives us one place where this acts like a checking account as well as a mortgage, right? Like we can pour our income into it. The principal's reduced by our income every month. Our expenses come out. I mean, it's awesome, and it plays perfectly into that.
It does, and velocity banking is a real thing, and more people need to know about how this works, because we truly get lulled to sleep with set it and forget it. Don't worry about it. Just put your money in the bank and earn that little meager amount that you're getting on an annual basis. I mean, when I do my taxes at the end of the year and I calculate the interest that I earned on my checking account, I'm like, what? What? I put a lot of money in there. How did I get $24 in interest that I get to deduct on my taxes, or add to my taxes, so to speak, because I got to put that on there. But okay, here's the online simulator, guys. I will give you the URL for this. It's just smartloan.online. Okay, anybody can go on here, anybody can use it. And I would advocate that you all do. What I would advocate also is that if you are interested in this product, that you reach out to Stacy or myself. But smartloan.online is the actual URL for this program, and it's the simulator embedded for us right here. So I'm going to go through an example here real quick, and we are going to start a simulation. So we're going to start a new simulation. We are going to compare it against a new loan, not an existing loan, because we can do that in a minute. We're going to compare it against a new loan. And we are going to do it as a primary residence, non-Texas. Sometimes Texas has some weird lending laws. They'll allow this program on investment property in Texas, but not on a primary residence. I think Sam Houston had something to do with that, with the Constitution of Texas, but I'm not 100% positive on that. All right, let's see. Let's go with just make it easy, $1 million value of a house, okay? And they have a $600,000 mortgage right now. Guess I better put one more zero on that, because there we go, $1 million and 600,000. Loan type is a regular 30-year fixed rate mortgage, but I also want to demonstrate to you guys that there's all kinds of options here that we can compare this against, whether it's 10 years, whether it's 15 year, whether it's 20, it's a 7-year arm, a 5-year arm. We're just going to go with the standard. 95% of everybody does a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Let's say Stacy, can you give me approximately what a really qualified client today for interest rates are on a new purchase? And we're at 600,000, so it's a conforming loan amount. What is that? 6 7/8, 6 3/4, something like that. 6.5. What is that?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I would go 6.99. I just quoted one today.
6.99.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Monthly P&I is there. We're not going to add extra payments to it. I mean, we can go back in and do that, but we're just going to do a standard thing here. Okay, I'm going to use the example of somebody who makes about $30,000 on a monthly basis, and they get paid every 2 weeks. So repeating deposit, let's say 15,000. Frequency of deposit is biweekly, so that's 26 pay periods. Okay. If they had a one-time deposit, or if they had repeating deposits. So for example, if they got a bonus on a regular basis, which I'm going to put in here. So this person makes roughly $32,500 on a monthly basis, because there's 26 pay periods, $390,000 a year. That might not be realistic for everybody, but let's just roll with it. It's $1 million property. Okay. I'm not going to put another deposit in there because I think there's enough money in there already. So we're going to hit next here. Okay. Taxes and insurance, I think that's a little bit high. This is probably calculated at 1.25% for property taxes. And depending on the state you're in, that could be a real, a reality. So here, we basically want to go through here and decide how much debt or how much expenses that person has and how much money they have left over at the end of the month. Right now, it says average monthly expenses $27,862 because it's taken out the mortgage that we have here and adding it to it. But we're going to say this client has 60% of their income left over at the end of the month, and they just put it in the bank, and it's just sitting there, not really earning a whole lot of money. It might be in a money market account. Okay, and we're going to calculate results. Okay. On a $600,000 mortgage on $1 million mortgage, that they put $400,000 down, at a 6.99% interest rate, using this velocity banking strategy or this first lien HELOC, that home is paid off in 2.5 years. Here's what I want to show you as well. 30-year fixed rate mortgage over here, you paid $835,000 in interest over 30 years. Over here, you paid $73,000, $989 in 28 months, 29 months, 30 months. Okay, well, it is 30 right there. Total saved 700. I mean, this is an egregious looking scenario here, but you saved $761,000 versus a 30-year fixed rate mortgage that, once again, they just lull you to sleep and take your interest and put it in the bank. They love it. They love it. They love it. Okay, I'm going to show you something else here that I think is going to completely blow your mind. Total expense on the 30-year fixed is obviously $1.4 million on the $1 million house that we only borrowed $600,000 on. So it's definitely over double what we were at. I'm going to tweak this and do some rates and assumptions because I absolutely like to make sure that the clients get the best deal. Okay. And what I'm doing is going to a historical average rate, and I'm giving them a great margin because just like any loan, there's upfront costs. And I would highly advocate people that are getting this loan pay the costs up front to make sure that they get the absolute best deal they can. And I'll tell you what index it's based on. But by me just tweaking that a little bit, this drops it to 2.4 years. Here's what I wanted to show you where the magic is. Okay, this right here compares the 30-year traditional mortgage on what you're paying on a monthly basis of roughly $4,000. Your average principal reduced monthly is about $1,600. The average principal reduced annually is about 3.5%, 3.3. Interest is 139% of your principal. And of course, that's the average APR of 6.9, which is the interest rate we put in there. Now, if we come over here onto the all-in-one side, your average minimum monthly payment that's swept out of the account on a monthly basis is $2,031. The average principal reduction monthly is $20,689. Okay. Average principal reduced, you can see that. Here's the thing that I wanted to make sure that you guys saw. The comparison loan effective APR is at a 0.633, not 6.33, 0.633. What that means is your current 30-year fixed rate mortgage would have to be at a 0.633 to compete with this loan that we're talking about. And it doesn't even matter what the interest rate is that we put this at, because this is tied to the CMT, the 1 month CMT, which is the constant maturity treasury note, which is the average of all the treasury notes combined together plus a margin. Currently right now that's 5.6 and there's a 3-point margin. This is technically an 8.6, an 8.6% interest rate loan, but you pay it off in 30 months, and your effective rate is truly 0.633 if you do how the program is designed. Okay, there's one other thing that I wanted to go back in here with. Let's see here, pay down graph. Okay, the green is your traditional mortgage. Now, obviously, you can see that that just drags out forever. This loan right here drops off the cliff like a rock, okay? Okay, I want to return to the summary and I want to go back into the results and I want to just do it a little bit differently. Okay, let's say they aren't making 15,000 every 2 weeks. Let's say that they're only making 7,500 every 2 weeks. Okay, let's just get more realistic. Okay, they still make 195,000. They're still a great client. Calculate results. Let's see here. Let's lower this because let's see here. Let's say they only have 50% left over because they have a little bit more money that they spend on a monthly basis. Their expenses are 3,500 a month. You know, that's maybe car, maybe that's groceries, maybe that's some other stuff. Okay. So they have about $8,100 left over at the end of the month. Calculate results. Okay. Still 4.9 years to pay this loan completely off, saving $725,000. And the total interest you paid was $110,000. Okay. And we can do this all night, guys. We can do this all night. Let's go back down to the pay down summary. What is the effective loan APR on this? This is at a 1.157. It doesn't even come close to the 6.99 on the 30-year fixed rate mortgage. Okay, real quick, I'm going to go back in here and we're going to compare this to an existing loan, okay? So then we've got some people out there that are probably saying, well, what about my 2.75 interest rate? Or what about my 3.25% interest rate? Okay, let's go in there. Let's say 28 years, because 2 years ago they refinanced and got just a smoking deal. Okay, we're going to leave it the same as it is. Okay. I'm going to increase that just a skosh. They have a little bit left over because 3,500 was, okay, let's go with 3,900. Okay, calculate results. So the 30-year fixed rate mortgage that they refinanced now still has about 27 and a half years left on it. This loan, even at the 8.6 versus a 3.25% interest rate, still beats the current mortgage by a long shot. And this is a 3.25 now, not 6.99, guys. Okay. The total interest saved on this loan still is $114,000 and they pay off in 5.2 years. Total savings of 196. Let's go down to the buy down summary here and show you what the effective APR is. 1.196. It's still half of what that 3.25 is. So no matter how I slice and dice this, unless I truly have a client that is just absolutely strapped and they cannot really afford any extra money to go towards their principal, this works every single time and does wonders for people. Okay, I know I'm just about out of time. I've got like maybe 1 minute left.
So Craig, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
We actually have a question in the chat. We've got a few questions in the chat, so we'll come back to them. But Scott's asking, what is the interest rate on this HELOC? And if so share that. But also, I think it's important to dive into the understanding of why the effective interest rate is what we should be looking at, not the overall interest rate.
Right, because technically you can mitigate, you can control the interest rate that you're actually paying, no matter what's listed on a paper or no matter what you actually say to Uncle Sam and deduct off your taxes. You can truly mitigate or diminish the amount of interest that you're paying on an annual basis by adding principal to any loan. Any loan. Doesn't matter if it's a mortgage, doesn't matter if it's an installment loan. Any of them, you can actually lower that interest rate, your effective rate. So as I'm pointing out right here, this effective rate right here, because it's accelerated with velocity banking and it's accelerated so quick, the 8.6% interest rate that we chose on this loan right here, and it paid off in, let's see, what was it? What would this pay off in? And this paid off in 62 months. Because it paid off in 62 months instead of 27.7 years, the effective interest rate calculated over that time and the amount of money that you ended up paying to the bank is effectively 1.196. Let's see here. So the total interest rate here, the 114 divided by the 5.2 years based on the interest rate, your effective rate is really about that 1.196, even though you're able to deduct the 8.6% on your taxes. Now, let me just touch on that real quick. Look, we are at the high of the rates right now. The CMT is the average of the Treasury notes, like I said. If the Fed does not raise rates anymore, which I'm 100% thinking that they will not, and a matter of fact, I do believe in the next quarter or so, they're going to start reducing rates. This loan starts performing even better because the CMT all of a sudden starts to act normal. Because most of these short-term notes, the 2-year, the 5-year, the 7-year, they're actually all priced higher than the 10-year Treasury, which is typically what the 30-year fixed-rate mortgages kind of mirror. They're all priced higher than the 10-year Treasury right now. Once those actually come down below the 10-year Treasury, based on the Fed doing quantitative easing and lowering interest rates, you'll see this index start to shrink as well. A year and a half ago, guys, this index was at a 0.45. It's at 5.6 right now. It was at a 0.45. Okay, the floor on this loan is 3.75. I will also tell you the high or the cap on it is 6% above the start rate. But that only changes if the Federal Reserve continues to raise interest rates, which they're not going to. Next question.
Charlotte asked, what states can you get access to this loan in?
So this loan is actually in all states. Texas is the only state that does have a little bit of quirkiness with it. And we are licensed in a lot of those states. I think we're licensed in about 29 of those states. If someone wants to throw out a state, I can let you know where that we are licensed in. Most of the Western states,
Charlotte's in New Mexico.
New Mexico, yes.
Perfect. Very cool. And then David asked, and I think you answered this question: is it a variable rate?
So it is a variable. It is a variable rate. It is a 1 month variable rate tied to the CMT, which is the constant maturity treasury. So I will tell you guys that they did have a 3-year and a 5-year fixed with this program, but they did away with those recently. And here's the reason. If we're at the top of the rate and we put you on a 3-year or a 5-year fixed, that's absolute insanity. When rates are going down, you want the benefit of them going down, not be locked in for 3 or 5 years at the highest rates that we've seen in the last 40 years. So it's a 1 month adjustable.
And we have to remember that we're not comparing apples to oranges here. A traditional mortgage is an amortized interest, right, which we can't even calculate on our iPhone calculators, right? Versus a HELOC, which is daily simple interest. Like you said, they aggregate the interest on a daily basis. They charge you monthly for it. And so you can't take an 8 on the left side and compare it to a 6 on the right side. It's apples and oranges.
You can't. And the math in the simulator, Mitch, will actually demonstrate that. I mean, it obviously demonstrates it right here. At 5.2 years, this whole loan is paid off versus 27 and a half years left on an existing mortgage. I don't care what your rate is. We could put it at 2.5, 2.25, 2%. This still beats it because it's at a 1.196 currently, as is how we've input it. Once again, this loan is not for everybody. What it is good for is those people that do have multiple sources of income, short-term rentals, any type of thing like that, where there's multiple sources of income coming in at all times, and it's just sitting in a bank account waiting for a payment to come out. No. Let's diminish through velocity banking. Let's diminish that principal balance on a really rapid basis to actually reap the benefits of having a tool like this in this first lien HELOC.
I love it. So Charlotte also asked, what are the costs to establish? So are there origination fees with this product?
Yeah, so it's going to be very standard, just a real standard loan. So for example, your standard origination, your standard closing costs, your standard title, your standard appraisal. My personal opinion with this is I think you should buy the margin down as low as you possibly can afford to maximize what you're getting out of this. Because the lower the margin, the lower the interest rate, it does even better, in the effective APR long term as well. So even if you paid $20,000 to buy a rate down or buy a margin down as low as possible, I think the lowest margin you can get is 2.5% and the highest is 4%. Sorry, I'm almost losing my voice. But I would absolutely advocate to pay the money up front because you're never going to do another refinance. This is your loan for as long as you need. This is your bank. This is your bank. You are the bank now. Stacy and I no longer exist. You are the bank. You're borrowing the money from yourself.
Love that.
You get a hallelujah.
So Mark asks if you can just kind of reiterate who qualifies for this loan and who doesn't qualify. Who wouldn't you recommend it to?
Okay, so the max debt ratio on this loan is a 43% back end. I will just say an FHA loan can go up to a 56.9% back end. Okay, that's a big difference. 43% back end debt ratio. Now that doesn't mean that if your line of credit at 900,000, puts you at a 47% debt ratio, that we can't lower your line of credit to get you to a 43% debt ratio. Maybe it's only 750,000 instead of 900,000. Okay, we're going to work within the system to make sure that back end debt ratio is 43%. I'll also say that this is a manual underwrite. It is 2 years taxes, 2 months bank statements, 2 pay stubs for regularly W-2 employees. For self-employed people, it's absolutely 2 years taxes, and make sure that that money is actually coming in, and we're not. I would even file my taxes differently to make sure that I qualified on this loan, and then amend them afterwards or file them differently from there forward. now that I've got my line of credit and I'm the bank, so that I don't have to worry about qualifications anymore. But I would absolutely advocate get qualified for the mortgage so that it qualifies, because then you get all the benefits of the line of credit and the ability to manage your interest rate as if you were, as if it were the stock market. You're managing your interest through this loan.
Love it. So I think this next question is a good segue, and then I got more questions for you. We'll go back into a question and answer. But David asks, how can we get a hold of you to apply for this loan?
Okay, I'm going to leave that with Stacy.
All right, let's bring Stacy up.
And why don't you put your contact info in the chat? That's probably a good place to start, Stacy.
So let me just say this real quick, Stacy, before you jump on. I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but I'm pretty close to it on this loan, and I really know the inner workings of it. So I am the regional manager. I don't necessarily do the loans themselves, but I work through different loan originators to make sure that these loans are handled appropriately. So I just wanted to make sure you guys understood that. Yes, we're absolutely interested in helping whoever we can. I am here as support to the people who actually are doing the loans themselves. Go ahead, Stacy.
And that's one reason. Can you hear me now? I want to make sure you can hear me.
We can hear you.
One reason why I joined Veritas. I get the best support having that retail local branch, having a manager like Craig that, like I said, I've been working with Craig for the last, oh gosh, Craig, we've been together for almost 35 years and we're dinosaurs. And every loan is different. Every scenario is different. That's why it's going to be getting to know the client, getting to know their need, and we have to customize what works best for them. So not every client is going to have the same parameters. Not every client is going to have the same costs. Are there costs? Absolutely. Every loan has costs. And sometimes we might want to look at numerous different breakdowns to fit the need for the client. Where is their comfort level with the monthly obligation and the cost to go to closing?
Love that.
Love it.
And how do they get a hold of you?
I'm going to put that in the chat right now.
Perfect. So guys, if you're looking like and want to get in touch with Stacy or Craig to be able to start looking at potentially qualifying for this product, if you've got a home and you're wanting to do velocity banking in the more advanced way that we've talked about, this is a great product to do it with. So reach out to those guys, see if it's a good fit for you. Stacy, looks like Craig's put his contact info in the chat, and Stacy has as well. Let's open it back up. Anything else you guys want to say before we open it back up for questions and answers?
Was that to us, Mitch? My apologies.
Yeah. Craig and Stacy.
All I would say is, look, guys, even if this doesn't 100% click right now, because it is a little bit backwards of how we've been taught. Yep. Sometimes it takes multiple times to talk about it and really dig in. I mean, I've got example after example of statements and how things look that I'm more than willing to jump on a Zoom call and go over this again and make sure that everybody truly understands this, rather than just, hey, send us all your people. No, that's not what we're wanting. We want to make sure that everybody completely 100% understands this. And by the way, before the loan even closes, there is a quality control person that calls and goes through the loan and asks all the specific questions on, do you truly understand what this is, before you ever even close your loan.
Can I add something? David wants to know, can it go for primary residence only? No, it goes investment. Mitch, can I email you a matrix so we can send out something via email to everyone joining? That way they just have a quick reference guide also.
Yeah,
yep, absolutely.
I would say too is, guys, remember that the moment this video drops, like we close out this Zoom video, it will immediately go it's live right now on YouTube, but it will immediately go live to be repeated over and over and over. So share this with your friends, right? Share this with the people that you have been confused about this. Maybe you've joined our coaching and you're like super excited, right? But you're like, I don't get it. Or maybe your friend or your family member is like, you guys are crazy. Like, what are you talking about, right? Now we have Greg, now we have Stacy to show them, right, a little bit more of a banker's, position, because, Mitch and I are not bankers. We've never been bankers. We've never been loan officers. So for us to tell you, yeah, this is a good idea, sometimes feels, like it could be just genuine, right? Like it could be something that we're like, oh, this is a good idea. This is a fantastic example of like, this is amazing. We should be our own freaking banks, right? Like
Absolutely.
take some control back in our livelihood. So thank you so much for sharing this with us, and Stacy for finding this and being like, yes, we're all in. I know when you first saw this, because you're a loan officer, and when you joined in our group, you were like, oh, I'm doing all of this, right? Like you went full throttle within minutes of doing. You're like, yep, I got it. Like, which is so awesome. Not all of our people, get it that fast. I know I didn't. It took me like months to be like, huh?
Kathy, she just asked a question. That's going to be on that matrix that we'll send to Mitch, and we can send it out to everyone. A matrix on this product.
Yes. So Kathy asked, what is the FICO score required? What is the seasoning on the current mortgage? So that will be on the matrix.
Mm-hmm.
It is a good point, though. 720 is typically the credit score that they'd like to see on this. 43% back-end debt ratio. I will add, if a property is 100% paid for, they will not do this loan on that property. And there's creative ways to get a lien on that. So, for example, somehow get a $100,000 lien on the property and then pay it off through the first lien HELOC, just so that you can be able to do it. Because a paid off property, they'll steer away from it.
And if you need someone to lien you for $100,000, I volunteer.
That's so funny. I love that. I had a scenario, unless there's more questions in chat. Let's see.
There are, yeah. But go ahead, Maeli, and we'll come back to the questions.
Yeah, primary. Well, that's a good question. So does it have to be a primary residence? You said no. You already answered that earlier.
Investment second home's primary.
Kathy did ask, can an LLC purchase an income residential house using this in Texas?
No.
Okay. And let's see. Charlotte asks, how many points are charged at origination?
That really depends. Depends on the margin that you want. I mean, if you go with the standard 4% margin, it's not going to cost you anything. If you buy it down to a better margin, which I highly advocate that you do, then yeah, there's a cost. And there's a matrix and a pricing sheet for us that fluctuates on a regular basis that we have to price each one individually.
And just to define that, Craig, when you say margin, you're talking about where the Fed rate's at, margin of 4 points, Fed rate's at 5, then we're at 9.
Right. And so, for example, the standard margin on this product is 4%, and the CMT index that we're using currently today, which changes monthly, next month it'll be different, is at 5.6. So if that was the case, it's at 9.6. I always advocate buying it down. Lowest that you can get it to is a 2.5 plus the 5.6, right?
Cool.
But just a few short months ago, this was 6%. This was, 4%. This was 3%. And it's going that direction now.
Yeah, which is good. We're on the curve, right?
We're on the curve.
We saw
hit the top.
Yeah, we saw a little blimp of it going down, the interest rate, and I was like, oh, sellers come out.
They do.
We saw an influx on all of our properties, that's for sure. I think we had like 10 showings this week on each property. We're like, yay!
Yep, people are getting excited again. I love it.
Yeah.
So David is asking how much to buy down. So he's asking about the buy down on the margin. What does that structure look like?
So once again, based on the pricing sheet, which I don't have with me, it will be, so for example, from 4 to 375, maybe it's a half a point. From 375 to 3.5, maybe it's a full point, so on and so forth. Let's just call it a half a point for each. I would definitely think that paying a point and a half is definitely a smart thing, because you can deduct that off your taxes the first year, and you're getting the better margin.
Yeah. So a point's going to be if you've got $1,000 or $100,000 balance left on your mortgage, and you're refinancing into this product, a point's going to be $1,000, right?
Well,
so
it's going to be based on your line of credit. Remember, Mitch.
Based on the overall limit of the line of credit.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So if you're getting a $750,000 line of credit, as an example, then it's going to be $7,500.
Correct.
Would be 1 point. Okay, got it.
And that's how we're going to look at the loan to value too. What your maximum you're going to borrow against.
Right. And what is the LTV on this?
90% on a purchase, 80% on a refi, or 75% on an investment.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's awesome.
So, up to $3 million.
Up to $3 million.
Up to $3 million.
Nice. That's awesome.
Appraisal.
Oh yeah, there's appraisals, and like Craig said, This is manual underwrite. We're going to go old school. Old school. We're going to ask a lot. We want a lot of paperwork. We're going to document a file. We want to paint a really strong picture to the underwriter.
Cool. Done that on our team. You know, in the past, we've promoted our personal bankers, and the reason why is because of that personal touch, right? Where if you just go to a traditional bank, right, they don't care about your story. They don't want you to paint this picture of why this took place or why this is happening or why you have kind of inconsistent income, but you have obviously a good amount of income coming in. But because I have rentals and I have this and I have, you know, so you're painting this nice story of like what's going on versus here's this blanket like I fit in your stupid box. I'm sorry, most business owners don't fit in your stupid
if you're
box.
not a W-2, a manual underwrite's actually probably an advantage, right? I mean, wouldn't you guys agree?
I would, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, totally.
And remember, we can coach you also, you know, a self-employed borrower sometimes. They definitely want to make sure that they're not paying Uncle Sam more than their fair share. Well, we can help coach and help you understand, hey, this loan is such a great, fantastic product. Bite the bullet for just a little bit to actually do the taxes like this so that you qualify for the maximum amount. Then you don't ever have to talk to a lender again. That's a beautiful thing. Let me just share one more thing, Mitch. There was a poll that went out one time. This has been years ago, but and I hate to say this, but it makes me laugh. One of the questions on the poll was, what do they think about mortgages? And 13% of the respondents said they would rather spend a night in jail with their worst enemy than do a mortgage.
Yeah.
Okay, we all feel that way sometimes. Okay, we've been in the business a long time. None of my clients ever said that about it. But what I am saying is that sometimes the mortgage process is pretty difficult. It's not understood by all. We keep a lot of things behind the scenes that we're not really sharing of what's going on. Therefore, yeah, I'd rather spend the night in jail with my worst enemy than ever do a mortgage again. Okay, get this loan. You never have to deal with that anymore. You're your own bank.
Yeah.
Love that.
I love it.
Let's see, we have a question here. Is it a $3 million overall or per loan?
$3 million per loan.
Per loan.
Perfect.
How
And you
many
can have up to 2 at any time, right?
You can have 2 of these loans out at any given time.
Perfect. So up to
And
6.
here's a strategy also that I think makes sense. If you have multiple properties, I would take your 2 highest valued properties, make sure that you get the money all off of those and finance them on some other product someplace else, which Stacy can help you with. Maximize your line of credit on your 2 most valuable properties, highest value, so that you have 2 very large lines of credit to do other things with.
We have some more questions like how many properties can you put into one loan? Just one loan. You can have up to 2 loans with this concept, and debt to income 43 on that back ratio.
Correct.
So clarify, because I think see how many. I'm not seeing the question, but the way you worded when you read it, is this only collateralized by? Is each loan only collateralized by up to 1 property, or can
Correct.
I, if I've got a portfolio, can I take 10 properties as my collateral on one loan? No. Okay.
Darn it.
No cross collateralization.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and that would be more. We'd be talking like collateralized business line of credit, right? A commercial product.
Although we do have a source for something like that, by the way.
Oh,
Perfect.
good. That's fantastic to know because we need one. We need one. No, that is, you know, I love how you structured this. I think it was really easy for people to read through and to watch through. So I really do hope that all of you that are watching come back and rewatch this. You gave a lot of valuable information. You've repeated yourself now multiple times because, right, you kind of burned through it, which is great. But yeah, I would highly suggest that people go back through this, share this with friends and family. Like you said, Greg, more people need to know about this. Mitch and I are preaching from the top of our lungs, like, why do we still have loans? Like, this is the weirdest thing, you know. If you go to
The
Australia,
banks makes money on them. The bank makes money on them, right?
yeah, but like if you go to Australia, this is the only way they bank. They don't actually have loans like we do, right? This is their all-in-one is the only mortgage that they have. Like they don't
There's no other country out there that has a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. All of them are variable rate mortgages that reset every 5 to 7 years. Canada, UK, everywhere.
Yeah. So, good for the banks. They're not doing anything wrong. They're capitalists. And I think that good job that they've created this incredible marketing and they've structured everything the way they have. It's time for us, though, to be smart. It's
Right.
time for us to take our voices back and be educated and share this message with more people so that we are not being taken advantage of and that we can buy more real estate and retire sooner and actually live abundant lives, right? Like that's the whole point. So thank you
Yep.
for sharing.
And like we always say, right? It's the most or the smartest person in the deal always makes the highest rate of return. And you know, from our free education that we all got, public education, right? Elementary school, middle school, high school, they didn't teach us about banking. Like they taught us nothing about how banks work, right? And so, as the average consumer going into a mortgage, who's the smartest person in that deal? The bank is, right? So the bank's gonna be the one winning in that deal. It's up to us to educate ourselves and understand how we can you know take control back, and this is a fantastic tool to be able to do that. So thank you guys so much for coming on. We have looks like
Would
we
it
have
help, Mitch? Would it help if I actually sent out the PowerPoint so that you guys could share with
that
me?
would be awesome. Yeah, we'd love to share that. That'd
I'll
be
do that.
awesome. Thank you, Craig. So we'll wrap up with two more questions here. Charlotte asked, would this apply to commercial property? Can you do this on commercial property or residential only? Okay. So that's a no on the commercial.
But they do have a product.
They
for
do have a
commercial.
different product though. Yeah. Yep. And can this be? Let's see. Can this be done on an LLC? And if yes, can you separate loans? Can you two separate loan structures? One as different as a
No, we can't
business.
do a business.
Sorry,
It's not
I'm
going to be a business. So you can't put multiple properties. Has to be, can't be an LLC.
Okay.
Okay. So it's in my personal name. It's my okay. It's my home. Now,
What about a trust?
Not
No.
a trust either. More than likely, you're going to do what you'd normally do with just a standard qualified mortgage. You close in your name, and then if you
That's
decide down the road you want to put it in your trust or your LLC, that's what you're going to do. But no, we don't. It's a pain to loan
Yeah.
to a trust or an LLC.
yeah.
Got it.
Time it out.
Yeah, understood. So we buy it in our name, and then you know if it's a rental property, we buy it or we refinance it into our name, and then immediately you can move that over to your trust or your LLC after that. So
Yeah.
that makes sense. Done that in
Yeah.
the past several times. So guys, thank you so much. This has been awesome. We're so grateful to have you guys on and to bring options to the awesome education that we have here. Teaching people how to pay off debt in a fraction of the time and invest in real estate. I mean, this puts the rubber on the road, right? These are the tools that we need to start applying that education. So thank you so much for being here today. Now, guys, we are off next week. We do not have a call next week because of Thanksgiving. It's the day before Thanksgiving. The holidays, they get a little funky. So we will be back, though, the week after Thanksgiving, and we'll wrap out the year. The only other Wednesday that we are taking off this year is the Wednesday between Christmas and New Year's. So holiday season, the schedule's kind of weird, but we'll be back in the new year, ready to blast these out every single week. So guys, enjoy your Thanksgiving. I'm so grateful for all of you. Thanks for being on the call tonight, and go out and invest in real estate, guys. Let's have some fun. Thank you again to Craig and Stacy. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.